Welcome to our Breakfast with the Boss, sponsored by Fidelity Bank. That's covered. Hold on one moment. Yeah. Okay, sorry about that. All right, quick housekeeping request. Please take a moment to turn off your cell phones or make sure that they are on mute. We are incredibly grateful for the support and partnerships we have with businesses in the Neshoba Valley. As you may know, our mission and passion is to assist businesses, and the backing of our corporate sponsors enables us to consistently explore new ideas and opportunities to fulfill that mission. Please join me as we recognize our corporate sponsors that are here with us today. Please stand when I call out your business. Enterprise Bank, IC Federal Credit Union, Main Street Bank, Murphy Insurance Agency, Rollstone Bank and Trust, and Mortgage Credit Union. If I didn't say your name and you wish that I did, let's chat about the sponsorships. I would be remiss if I didn't take a second to also recognize the members of our board and executive committee that are here today who have also been amazingly supportive of the Neshoba Valley Chamber. We have Gary Archer from Archer's Mobile, Cheryl Serby from Enterprise Bank, Sean Toll from Fidelity Bank, Jose Banch from J&S Business Products, Jamie Conahan from Main Street Bank, who is also our chair extraordinaire, and Laura Pearsall from Rollstone Bank and Trust. And of course, Deb Seeley, our my teammate, who helps everything at the Chamber office run as smoothly as it does. So thank you, Deb. We wouldn't be here at the Breakfast with the Boss without our breakfast sponsor, Fidelity Bank. Fidelity Bank has been a supporter and sponsor of the Neshoba Valley Chamber and this breakfast series for over 20 years. This year, we're celebrating our 23rd year of Breakfast with Fidelity, but the partnership has been for much longer. All of a sudden, I don't have enough coffee. I would like to welcome up Toma Rasta of Fidelity Bank to say a few words and tell us what Fidelity has been up to. Toma.
Thank you so much, Melissa. So first, thank you so much for having me today. My name is Toma Rastad. I am the Community Engagement Manager at Fidelity Bank, and I'm honored to be here today with my team as a sponsor of the Breakfast with the Boss series. Thank you to the Neshoba Valley Chamber of Commerce this morning for all the programs and everything you do every day to support our businesses and our local communities. For those of you who may not be familiar with Fidelity Bank, we're a full-service community bank that has been serving Central Massachusetts for over 135 years with over 13 centers in the region. We're committed to helping families, businesses, nonprofits, and municipalities achieve their financial goals. But what truly sets us apart is our unique approach to banking that we call life design. This is a promise, excuse me, that we make to provide unwavering care and clarity at every moment that matters so our clients can always move forward with confidence. We deliver this through a 4-step care process in which we use every interaction to help our clients make informed financial decisions and get where they want to be. And these aren't just words for us. They are the foundation of everything we do. We are very much driven by care. The most critical element of our mission statement reads, to our clients, colleagues, and communities, we care deeply about your well-being. We go beyond simply offering great financial services and are truly committed to supporting the well-being of our communities, clients, and our colleagues. At Fidelity Bank, we believe in building lasting, impactful relationships, and we see ourselves as partners in the success of the communities that we serve. Thank you so much for allowing us to be the sponsor today.
Thank you, and I just want to highlight, just mention your Lemonade Learning Club that you recently launched. And I, at some point, want to learn more about this because obviously we love entrepreneurs, and I know it's a program for young students, young adults, and so whatever we can do to help support that awesome program, I want to hear more about it. So thank you. Businesses with long-standing presence anchor the community's economic stability, provide reliable employment opportunities, and contribute to local prosperity. Let me pause for a second. Their enduring commitment fosters a sense of tradition and continuity, enriching the community's cultural heritage and identity. Moreover, these establishments often serve as pillars of support, actively engaging in community initiatives, and nurturing lasting relationships with residents. Today, we would like to recognize 3 businesses for their longstanding leadership in Neshoba Valley. And I'm going to actually welcome our state auditor, because you have some citations that you're going to also present to our winners, and I have them right here with our awards. So, our first award is for BLW Engineers. We are pleased to recognize their 25th anniversary of BLW Engineers. They are located on Great Road in Littleton. BLW Engineers is a consulting engineering firm providing design-related services for HVAC, plumbing, fire protection, and electrical building systems. BLW Engineers was founded in 1999 with 2 employees and 2 locations. Today they have 80 employees, including electrical, mechanical, plumbing, and fire protection engineers. They now have 4 offices located in Littleton, Andover, and Guilford, New Hampshire. BLW has extensive experience working within corporate environments in a variety of business types, including commercial, industrial, educational, housing, medical, hotels, and many others. Most of their engineers are LEED certified. Ken Beck, principal, was unable to be with us today, attributes their 25 years success to offering quality services, being responsive to customer needs, and building their trust. Customer testimonials on the website describe their relationship, saying responsible, capable, within budget, on time, and extra effort was given to accommodate schedules, and would definitely use BLW services again. Please welcome Christina Patty of BLW Engineers.
For you right here. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, sorry. It is like I didn't get enough sleep. I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
As a family-owned and operated business located in Air since 1984, Seric Fabrication has served the area as a full-service precision sheet metal fabrication shop, delivering high-quality products on time and at a reasonable price. 40 years of personal service has been the key to their success, always with a commitment to meet or exceed customer expectations. The staff and management at Seric Fabrication is committed to consistent provision of quality products and services that will satisfy the demands and expectations of their customers through continuous quality improvement and compliance to QMs and prevailing codes of conduct. Seric serves as a wide variety of industries to include medical, semiconductor, defense, aerospace, networking, robotics, and battery, to name a few. Each project is manufactured according to customer specifications and are unique to that customer. They are equipped to service every sheet metal need, from prototype to high volume production, on a wide array of metal types, thickness, sizes, and configurations. Seric Fabrication was established in September of 1984 by Seth and Carol Wesson. The company was located in Wilmington, Mass. At the time. In June of 1998, Seric moved to a new facility on Nemco Way in Air, which doubled their manufacturing space. The average number of employees generally is around 35. Seric continues to be family-owned and operated by Seth and Carol's children, Seth Jr., Eric, and Judy. Please welcome Seth and Judy, co-owners of Seric Fabrication, and join me in congratulating them on their 40th anniversary.
I will say though, 40 years, I'm 41 years old, so truly a lifetime of service. I would give a round of applause.
Thank you very much.
It is apple season in New England, and Appleseed Personnel Services proudly says we're the best of the bunch. Appleseed Personnel is a staffing firm serving all of Central Mass. Locally owned since 1984, Appleseed Personal Services specializes in temp help, temp to hire, and direct placement personnel services. They customize their services to best suit their clients' needs with the goal of matching quality people with quality businesses. For 40 amazing years, Appleseeds has remained under the ownership of one family with firm ties to the area and a belief in local business-to-business dealings. Active in our chamber and serving on the boards and committees for many other local organizations, Maydon Coburn, president of Appleseeds, is a familiar face to many here today. Maydon moved to Leominster from the Washington, D.C. area, joined the family business, and purchased Appleseed when her mother retired. Asked about her advice for women entrepreneurs trying to start their own business today, Maydon's advice is, do it, be bold and brave. Her mom had started the business with a background in education and no business experience. Watching her succeed and the business grow, Maydon followed her mom's example of trusting yourself to do it, adapting to change, and here we are 40 years later. Hiring requests from companies are all different and all unique, but we wanted to know what was the weirdest, strangest job placement request that Maydon's ever received. And she told us about the dinosaur incident. Fearing that someone she hired had to wear a giant dinosaur costume at an exhibit might be a no-show, Maydon donned the costume herself. Problem was she could not see a thing, so one of the exhibitor kids had to hold her hand and guide her through the booths at the center. That's bold and brave. Please join me in congratulating Maydon Coburn on Appleseed's 40th anniversary.
You should be able to do that.
Now, the other reason we're here this morning is our breakfast with the boss. Massachusetts State Auditor Diana DiZoglio is an advocate for transparency and government accountability. Today, we look forward to hearing about her bold initiative to audit the Massachusetts legislature, an unprecedented effort to ensure that legislative funds are subject to the same scrutiny as other state agencies. This initiative is critical as it speaks to the integrity of our government and the responsible management of taxpayer dollars. We are very fortunate. We had a group of folks that attended our Beacon Hill Day in June, and we traveled to Boston. We had the opportunity, we have a few of the folks that were with us, joined us for breakfast this morning because they were super excited to see you again. And we've had many conversations with our state auditor, and we're super excited to hear more about ballot question 1 and all of the initiatives that you're working on. Thank you for all that you've done to help support businesses and to connect with the businesses here in the Neshoba Valley. And without further ado, I welcome up State Auditor Diana DiZoglio. That's better. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Great. You are all awake. Feel free. I am a very informal human being. And if you want to get up, get coffee, grab yourself some food during this chat, please feel free to do so. I'm hoping to have an interactive session with you all this morning. As in the state auditor's office, we don't get many opportunities to get away from the spreadsheets. So thank you, Melissa, and the whole Neshoba Valley Chamber of Commerce for your gracious invitation. Thanks to Fidelity for your sponsorship, alongside of all the other sponsors this morning. I am excited, I have to say, because there seem to be a lot of bankers here today, which I think is great. Just like everybody here is in finance, that's not a normal thing for a chamber event. But whether you're in finance, whether you're in the nonprofit world, whether you're a small business owner or employee in any of these different sectors, thank you for coming out this morning. The State Auditor's Office has some value in your lives, and I'm here to get into why that is this morning. So my name is Diana DiZoglio. I am an Italian Greek American girl from Methuen. I grew up mostly in Methuen and Lawrence during my childhood. I was actually born to a 17-year-old single mom. Grew up housing insecure. We did a lot of couch surfing when I was a kid. Lived with different friends of our family and family members as well. But I ended up going through our local public school there and graduating and then going off to Middlesex Community College, not too far from here, which was an associate's degree that I could afford thanks to actually our state legislature's investments in families like mine. From there, I ended up getting a scholarship going off to Wellesley College to be able to become the first in my family to graduate. I so appreciate the investments of our state, your investments into our state, and I want to make sure that those investments are spent efficiently and effectively, that they are spent in a way that serves Massachusetts families, and that our tax dollars that we pay into these types of systems, that they are not being wasted or fraudulently spent or abused. We work hard for our tax dollars. We want to make sure that they're being spent in the appropriate fashion, and that is what the Office of State Auditor helps to do. A little background on me, after I graduated from college, I'd actually worked in the nonprofit world for a while. I had served in a teen girls home. I had worked at the United Teen Equality Center in the city of Lowell. I had served at Girls Inc., helping to coordinate some of their after-school programs with young girls in the city of Lowell as well. And simultaneously through those years, I was waiting tables and cleaning houses to make ends meet, because as working families know, you might love what you do for a day job, but it doesn't always afford you with the opportunity to live with a standard of dignity in the communities that you're working hard to serve in. And it was during that time period of my life that I got offered this job working at the State House. At that time in my life, I had no idea what the state legislature was, what state legislators did, but there was a state representative who wanted a legislative aide who spoke fluent Spanish and came from the greater Lawrence community. That was me. I went in, I applied for the job, and I actually ended up getting the job. And I went into the Massachusetts State House, and learned about all of the great things that our state legislature can do to help families in our communities, from fighting, for access to higher education, to fighting against climate change, for clean energy initiatives, to fighting for our small business community, and making sure that our communities have robust transportation systems and public safety systems, and that you're getting access to capital improvement project funds that you need to make sure that your communities are thriving, so on and so forth. I learned about all these great things regarding how state government can operate. But I also, during my very short time working at the Massachusetts State House as a younger woman in my 20s at the time, many, many years ago, Melissa, I learned about the flip side of our state government and how it can operate when there's no accountability. As that younger woman in my 20s, I was sexually harassed while working in our own House of Representatives. And the way that they thought it was appropriate to deal with that set of circumstances was to fire me. That way, the problem would go away and the harassment would stop. But I didn't let them get rid of me, didn't let them keep me quiet, didn't leave state government like they told me to do. I instead decided to run for state representative myself, and a little over a year later made my way back into that same chamber as the youngest woman serving in the House of Representatives at that time. And thank you, friends, because y'all just heard my story. This wasn't part of my 5-year plan. It wasn't part of my 10-year plan. I never thought that I would ever be in politics or government, frankly, growing up. I assumed what a lot of people assume, which is it's a bunch of older people just screaming at each other, and didn't really want anything to do with government growing up, but I was exposed to our government. I got that job. I saw the way things were being done, and I decided that I wanted to be part of making positive change, not just for myself, but for others in our communities who, like I was, and maybe not in the same way, you didn't have to go through the same set of circumstances. Certainly we all have our own challenges that we need to face, but working for other families who have also, in one way or another, been dismissed or ignored or disenfranchised by a system in state government that just isn't working for all families in Massachusetts the way that it could and the way that it should. And as an elected official, I fought against the use of non-disclosure agreements in the House of Representatives and the state Senate. Why? Because I found out during that time period that these non-disclosure agreements were actually being used because I was required to sign one. So that I didn't talk about what had happened and what I had seen among some of the most powerful politicians in Massachusetts. This was not for some big settlement. I did not bring a lawsuit against the legislature. This is just to be able to collect a 6 weeks severance package out of a $30,000 a year salary. Prohibited from being able to move on by our state legislature with taxpayer-funded severance package being held hostage, essentially, unless you agreed to be quiet. So when I got elected, I fought against the use of these non-disclosure agreements. I exposed that the leadership in the House of Representatives was using them to silence people about abuses in state government that shouldn't exist. And I also exposed that statewide, these agreements are able to be used unlawfully, actually, and that folks who are in positions of power are able to abuse all of your hard-earned tax dollars to be able to pay for keeping people quiet about potential abuses and even potential illegal behaviors in our state government. I fought for increased transparency and accountability for 6 years as a state representative, and then I moved to the state Senate, where I was able to serve in our state Senate, representing a large portion of the Merrimack Valley and North Shore from Methuen all the way up to Newburyport. Fought for that same transparency and accountability in our state Senate until I eventually ran for state auditor, which I have the great opportunity of serving in right now. And in this role of state auditor, I am able to effectuate a lot of the changes that I had been calling for while I was in the state legislature and state Senate. I called for transparency from our state government entities about how they were using our taxpayer dollars and asked them to make sure that they were not abusing our taxpayer dollars in these types of way. As state auditor, I've been able to shine a light in some of those darker areas, from places like the MBTA to Mass Health, we are conducting, we just went into the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. We're going to be conducting an audit of DESE currently. The only state entity that has refused to cooperate with the Office of State Auditor regarding the audits our office provides to state entities to increase that transparency regarding the use of our taxpayer dollars is our state legislature. That's what Melissa was referring to a little bit earlier. So our office is fighting right now to make sure that we can enhance accountability and transparency in the state legislature, but legislative leaders are balking at the idea of a basic audit that's conducted of every other state entity across state government. Now let me tell you what the Office of State Auditor can look at in some of the audits that we do. And just before some of you go running out of the room, if I come near you, I do not audit any of you. I'm not the IRS. I know we have a lot of finance people here, but some folks still will say, don't audit me. Most folks do. And I am grateful to be able to tell you, I don't audit any of your small businesses or any of your companies. I don't audit anything to do with private citizens' dollars that are in your personal accounts. And again, I'm not the IRS. What our office does is we are the people's auditors. We're the people's auditors. So we audit for the people, the state government. We audit these government entities to make sure that they're spending your money that you're sending in the state government the right way. And if there are challenges or if there are allegations of improper use, we're able to go in and to investigate that to hopefully save your taxpayer dollars and prevent the fraud and the abuse from occurring. So we're able to do that in different state entities. And what that looks like is, I know I said the MBTA, but folks probably have heard the MBTA has had some challenges in recent years. Trains catching on fire, derailments, safety challenge after safety challenge, performance issue after performance issue, and financial challenges as well, entering into contracts that have been questionable to taxpayers of Massachusetts. So what does the state auditor's office have to do with safety and performance at the MBTA? Well, certainly we can't, we're not running the MBTA, we are not the, governor's office helping to set policy or the agenda. We are also not the state legislature, who does get to vote on legislation and vote on the budget. But we do have a role that we can play to assist. And while our office is not resourced to be able to audit the whole MBTA at one time, we are resourced to be able to go into certain areas and to look at their process and their procedures regarding different initiatives that they engage in, and we're also able to analyze their contracts that they enter into. We have attorneys in our office, we have CPAs, we have accountants, and we're able to go in and to look at some of these contracts and to make sure that they were executed appropriately. And when we just audited the MBTA, we looked at a contract that was actually privatized during the previous administration, where services were entered into with a company who was supposed to be providing services regarding station checks, and making sure that employees were present for those station checks and that they were trained appropriately. We ended up finding out that the station checks that were supposed to occur twice per hour, in accordance with what the MBTA had expected, that those station checks were actually not occurring the way that they were supposed to, and that there were no service level agreements in the contract to make sure that those things were actually happening and that there was accountability for the millions of taxpayer dollars that were being spent to provide for these services that were supposed to be occurring but weren't occurring. We also found out, considering the safety challenges, we thought it was important to look at whether or not these employees were actually being trained the way that they were supposed to be trained on safety. So our office went in and tested whether or not these employees were actually trained on safety, and found out that a large chunk of the time they were not being trained by the company for which they worked, that was paid for with taxpayer dollars, once again. So found out that this company was not only sending their employees out into the field without appropriate safety and operations training, but that once those employees got out there, that those station checks were not happening in a timely fashion to make sure that our stations were operating safely for folks. So unfortunate findings, but the good news is we were able to make recommendations to the MBTA for improvements and demonstrate to them a way that they could improve upon their contracting, increase accountability, and make sure that they have what's known as service level agreements within their contracts so that they can have increased accountability when they do use our taxpayer dollars. And we were able to produce that report and then call for changes. Recently, we also audited the Massachusetts Convention Center Authority. And I don't know if folks heard, but the Massachusetts Convention Center Authority, a quasi-public agency, was actually alleged last year to have engaged in significant racial discrimination and retaliation, but also to have engaged in unethical execution of state taxpayer-funded contracts, not going through an appropriate bidding process, and giving friends access to information about state contracts, and not making those state contracts readily accessible to everybody in our communities in an equitable fashion. So we went in, we conducted an audit. Our office had received a lot of allegations about issues there, and we went into our Convention Center Authority and we uncovered, speaking of those non-disclosure agreements that I was talking about earlier, we uncovered that the Massachusetts Convention Center, a taxpayer-funded entity, ended up executing an unlawful $1.2 million non-disclosure agreement to conceal allegations of racial discrimination and retaliation. It's not a private entity, it's not a private company. It's a taxpayer-funded entity once again, so these are taxpayer-funded agreements that are executed. That was done unlawfully and not in accordance with their own process, and then we found out that unlawful state contracts were being executed. No bid contracts were actually going out to friends of the leadership team there, which was all actually recently let go. We have a new administration at the Convention Center Authority, but we found out that during the previous administration, no bid contracts and the hundreds of thousands of our taxpayer dollars were being given to friends of the former leadership at the quasi-public agency. And to boot, the records that would demonstrate where this might have been the case, even more so than what we were able to find, there was the destruction of public records. So our agencies are required to hold on to public records and documentation for any contracts that we give out, original bids, things like that. And we actually found that those documents had been destroyed and did not exist according to the new leadership at the agency. Which I do have to say, the new leadership over there has been great up to this point, and they have fully cooperated with our office on this audit, and they've already begun to implement changes to address the unlawful acts that took place under their previous leadership. So that is a positive. And we were able to not just uncover those things just for the sake of uncovering them and pointing to bad behaviors. We were able to uncover those things for the purpose of making government work better. That is the motto of our office. We're not the FBI. We can't go in and toss desks and grab people's cell phones away from them, nor do we want to see what's on people's cell phones, frankly. We look at process and procedures, and I know because there are a lot of finance people in here, an audit is an audit. It's not the sexiest thing in the world. It is, an examination of those processes, those procedures, and those financials, right? And we do look at those state contracts as well. And that is to guard our taxpayer dollars. It's to make sure, once again, that we are helping these agencies and entities work better and more efficiently on all of our behalves, and to protect those precious tax dollars that we do send into these state agencies. So we are working hard to protect those tax dollars, and all state entities have cooperated with our office. Even the courts cooperate with the Office of State Auditor. We are part of the executive. The courts are part of the judicial branch of government. They work with our office. We audit the courts. We ensure that they are spending money through grant programs and other initiatives correctly, and we work with them to go in and to analyze those potential challenges, and then we produce a report. Once again, the only state entity that's refusing to cooperate with our office is the Office of the State Legislature. And we find this problematic. You just heard what we do in these state entities. We find this problematic because the state legislature too spends taxpayer dollars. Budgeted at about $70 million for just internal processes and procedures. It's a lot of money in each of those chambers. We want to ensure that those taxpayer dollars are being spent efficiently. And while it is public how much they spend in accordance with what they do post up on the comptroller's website, our office is supposed to be able to go in and to pull the receipts and the documentation and look at procurement information, those requests for proposals, those original bids, things like that. And we are called to, in our office, analyze those things to make sure that the law has been being followed by those who are running this particular entity and have access to spending our taxpayer dollars in the millions. That we have been denied access, that any of us has been denied access to documentation and receipts about how our taxpayer dollars are being spent is atrocious. It is unacceptable. And frankly, we all have to wonder what legislative leaders who are the ones who are blocking access to this information, what they are so intent on hiding. Because once again, as we try to tell them, because some might be scared, this is not an FBI investigation, and we don't audit any of your personal finances or personal information. This is only taxpayer-related information, and this is about what's happening in the people's house of Massachusetts, but that people's house has been being treated as the politician's house instead. And our office is working hard to change the way that things have been done on Beacon Hill regarding the opaque style of governance that leaves people like those in this room and all of our families and our communities out of the process up on Beacon Hill. Folks, this is something that happens in other states. We are the only example that folks could find who have been researching this of where the legislature has refused to cooperate with an audit from the state auditor's office. I was talking to my good friend in Connecticut, the state auditor there, who said, man, I can't believe what's going on up in Massachusetts. I audit the state legislature so often, I can't even get the press to cover the audit because it's so boring to them, because it's just such a matter of routine that we go through these documents. It's not something that people care about reading about, so they don't even print it. Meanwhile, in Massachusetts, we continue to be ranked as the least transparent and least accessible state legislature in the entire nation. We are the only state where the governor, the judiciary, and the legislature, all three claim exemption from the public records law. The public records law that every city and town and every other state entity, including the Office of State Auditor, by the way, those laws that we have to follow, which allow for all of you to get access to our receipts, to our spending, to the processes and procedures in our office. If you call my office and ask for the receipt for some conference or something that you saw that you wanted to make sure was all being done on the up and up, our office is required, and rightly so, to give you that receipt and that documentation to demonstrate to you how we are spending your taxpayer dollars, to confirm the accuracy so we can reconcile any differences between claimed expenditures and what's actually being expended. That is a good thing. And right now, Beacon Hill is obstructing not just my office from accessing these documents, they are obstructing from public view all of these different things that should be a matter of public record to everybody here in this room in a denial of this basic audit that we are trying to perform. So I am here today to let you know about the work of our office, but also to let you know about question one. Question one on the ballot would actually allow our office to conduct this audit and continue to do the work that we actually always used to do up until recent years. It's been said by some folks who oppose efforts to conduct these basic audits that legislative audits have never occurred before. And this Methuen girl, she's out there yelling about these audits and saying all these crazy things, you know, and this is unprecedented. Well, guess what? It's actually not unprecedented, and as much as I love getting credit for having this bold idea, it wasn't my idea. This actually has always taken place. It's always actually been done to the tune of 117 other times that my office's amazing staff has uncovered as being the case. We have 117 audits of the state legislature that have occurred that began with the inception and creation of our office back in 1849. There was always an audit that occurred on the regular as a matter of routine, just like we audit every other state entity. It was only in the early 90s, during a time period for which we saw scandals, corruption occurring in the state legislature. There were 3 indicted speakers during that time period. And it was during that time period that these audits actually stopped occurring. There was a speaker during that time who said, "You're not auditing me," to the state auditor at the time. That state auditor pushed for the audit to get conducted, but was shut down at the time and filed a bill to try to push this, but the bill obviously never went anywhere. The legislature has to vote to pass the bill. So with the speaker's refusal during that time, these audits simply stopped happening. And I have pushed for this ballot question as a potential path forward, understanding that it's very unlikely that a bill would get passed through the legislature to audit the legislature. They don't want to participate. So we have given the power regarding this issue to you, the people of Massachusetts, to be the final arbiters on this decision. This is something that I strongly believe in. I believe that knowledge is power. So when you think about all the knowledge regarding information surrounding those receipts, those documents, those processes and procedures, knowledge is power. And if knowledge about all of that information is being hoarded amongst a powerful few at the State House, it further consolidates power. Knowledge is power, and that power belongs to the people of Massachusetts. And that is why I'm advocating for question 1. Our motto and slogan for it is question 1, bring on the sun. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. And sunlight is a good thing. We want to shine a light on some of the challenges in state government for the purposes of being able to know where the problem areas are so that we can work to fix them. You can't fix an issue if you don't even know it exists. So that is what our office provides. We are hoping that we are able to continue providing that across the board, but also ensure that that service is provided with parity and that our legislature is included. So with that, I will say thank you so much for the opportunity to come in and share this morning, Melissa, with Neshoba Valley Chamber of Commerce. It's a great time here. Always, though normally I'm at your winery. But I know you. I have all the Neshoba Valley winery glasses.
Also a great place.
Yes, I have all the wine glasses. I always make sure I take them out to the wine tasting. But it is great to be here in the morning, for coffee's good too, folks, and the bacon's delicious. So thank you so much for the gracious invitation. And did you want me to open it up for questions?
Yeah, that would be great.
Sure. I want to make sure that folks have an opportunity to ask questions. You can ask questions about the legislative audit or any other audit or anything for that matter.
Jason.
I'll start.
All right, speak loudly.
Thank you for being here this morning. No, it's fine. You said part of government is accountability.
Yes.
That includes the polls, our state elected officials, and legislators are accountable to us. So tell me, if we want question 1 to pass, what legislators are supporting the passage? And are they ours? And if they're not ours, it's going to come upon us to ask them why they're not supporting us.
So I'm going to share that during my time, so he asked about state legislators, who's supporting, who's not supporting, and wants accountability at the ballot box regarding that as well. I hear you on that. What I will say is that none of the state legislators who represent this area have access to any of the documents that our office is requesting. I know because I used to be a legislator and I served for 10 years being denied access to the documents that I was requesting. I remember advocating for employee health care one year, and I tried to ask the Speaker and the Senate President for access to the financial information regarding how much we had left over, because during the COVID-19 shutdown period, some staff had approached me and said, hey, it's great that legislators have access to health care on day 1, but your employees, FYI, we don't get it for 3 months. And we were really nervous because there's a worldwide pandemic happening right now, and we want to make sure we have access to health care. Some of us had pushed to view the financials to see how much we had left in the budget to try to give these employees access to health care, especially during that time period. And we were sent here, there, and everywhere pretty much, besides where the actual information was regarding how much we had left in our budget for any expenditures, not just that. So your local legislators do not have access to the information that we are requesting. Only the Speaker and the Senate President do. And I will tell you that most legislators, not all, most legislators have demonstrated a little bit of caution in getting involved in this. And to me, most of the time, that generally stems from a fear of retaliation by legislative leaders who do hold the keys to your district's funding and to any bills getting passed. So if you stand up and say anything in the House of Representatives or Senate that challenges leadership, generally speaking, you are shown the door when the time comes for a bill to get passed, funding that you need for your senior center or for your fire department or for these small business grant opportunities, you're shown the door when that time comes up. I know I experienced that retaliation. I'm still actually being retaliated against by the state legislature. They have funded my office at a 4 to 5 times less of an increase of that of my constitutional office counterparts. Some folks seeing a 9 and 10% increase. We got about 2 COLAs last year. We're about 8 or so percent. So they do indeed retaliate. So that's what your legislators are dealing with. That being said, I surely would love their support. So it would be helpful, but I want their support without requiring martyrdom, if that makes sense. You know, I certainly don't want to ask local legislators to martyr themselves for this cause and to put at risk all of your funding locally and their ability to pass bills. But there are other ways of supporting, and I hope to earn their support at the ballot box and in conversations at the very least to let folks know that this is a good initiative because I can't do it without their support at the end of the day. Most likely, this is going to be something that I believe will pass at the ballot box. And I believe voters are going to speak their minds and speak their minds very strongly on this initiative. And that it will pass with a large margin. Even though it would become law right after that, it does become law. This isn't just a recommendation. Legislators would have the opportunity to overturn it potentially if they don't like the law. So that is where absolutely 1,000% pressure your legislators, please, to ensure that the will of the people is not threatened after the will of the people is highlighted. Once this goes into effect, we are of course asking legislators to support the will of their communities and allow for these audits to occur. Thanks.
So this information is being made public every day. How do they continue to obstruct your audit?
So we've actually asked to go to court to adjudicate this matter because of the fact that we have 117 other audits that have been conducted before, demonstrating clear precedent that this was always the case. Unfortunately, the Office of Attorney General has decided that they believe it would be a waste of taxpayer dollars to go to court to adjudicate this matter. We have said that this is only a filing fee that it would cost because we're using our in-house general counsel. We're not hiring expensive outside counsel. We already have attorneys who work in our office who know the issue very well, and they would be the ones representing us in court. And obviously legislators have their own counsel as well in the House and the Senate who have been representing them. So it would just be a matter of a filing fee, but that was what our office was told, that it was believed to be a waste of taxpayer dollars to go to court to adjudicate this matter. So that is why hundreds of thousands of dollars have been spent on the ballot question instead. And over 100,000 signatures had to get collected to put this issue on the ballot because our office has been denied access to an impartial hearing before the courts to have this matter resolved. So obviously we weren't thrilled about that. I have a very lengthy letter that I wrote about the whole thing. If you want to go up on the website and read about our grievances, you're more than welcome to if you have some free time today. But that's it in a nutshell, essentially. We did ask to bring this matter to court, but because we were denied access to the judicial system, we are bringing this matter to you, the voters, to help resolve. Yes?
So just to follow up on both of those questions, it sounds like the primary mechanism that you have available to you to enforce some of these or propose some of these recommendations and changes is only publicity. Is there anything in the legislation now or proposed that would give you enforcement or referral powers?
We do not have any enforcement authority in the Office of State Auditor. We do have the ability to gain access to documents. That is the right that we have under Chapter 11, Section 12 of the Massachusetts General Laws. I'm going to move on from there. We don't need to get too deep into that this morning. But our authority is to audit and to get access to any and all documents we need to be able to complete that audit. It's important to say that because, again, that doesn't mean random text messages or anything like that. It means anything that's related to the audit itself and the questions that we're asking, those procedures, processes, and finances. We are able to require the production of those documents. And the method for being able to enforce that law, our governing statute says that we are to go to the SJC and that we are to have that matter adjudicated in court if any entity is refusing to produce the documents we're requiring. So that is the mechanism. It is the only mechanism available to our office under our governing statute, and that mechanism has been denied to our office. So we've been really pushing that is the law. The law has not been followed on multiple fronts, including the denial of our office to get access to the courts, which, by the way, once again, just happens to be when we're trying to get documents from the most powerful politicians in Massachusetts. We have not had this challenge in other entities. When we went into the Convention Center Authority, and when it wasn't the most powerful politicians in Massachusetts we were auditing, we could get access to the HR files to make sure employee complaints were being handled ethically and legally. And then we were able to get access to those settlement agreements to make sure that the NDAs were being executed legally and ethically, and those contracts as well. Those were all documents that were provided to our office in accordance with the law. This is the only case where folks are saying, you can't see what we're doing, you're not going to look behind the curtain, go and find a different entity to audit. So we do need the ballot question to pass. This is the voice of the people, I think is the point of that statement. And yes, while we do have enforcement mechanisms to get documents, we don't have the enforcement ability to require things when we can't go to court to be able to enforce those things. This would make very clear that our office has this authority and give those who are trying to deny access to their own taxpayer-related documents the message loud and clear about what folks expect.
Any other questions? How much of your work is driven by pure complaints versus routine audits? And then how much, I understand you're the office of the audit, so by default, you're not the creative entity, but you personally are driven to drive change. So how much of the work that you do is you find that people or entities don't adhere to good policies and procedures, and how much is it that they don't exist in the first place, which would allow you to be creative and give them ideas how to do this?
Yeah, thank you. Great questions. So regarding the first thing you said, she was basically saying how many of our audits are, sort of routine, and then how many come from recommendations from the community. It's pretty balanced. We're required to audit every state entity at least once every 3 years. The legislature is part of that, by the way. All departments of the Commonwealth, we are required to audit at least once every 3 years. But during those audit periods, I think, is when the issues that you all raise to us is able to actually be looked at in these different entities. So when we audit the MBTA, for example, we know to look at the areas that have been raised to us. Safety, for example, has been the issue of late, right? So we were able to go in and look at different safety challenges. At the Convention Center Authority, they were up for their audit once every 3 years, and it was their time to be audited. So when we went in to conduct the audit, we looked at the different allegations that were made and that were raised to our office as the high-risk areas, so to speak, that our office wanted to focus on. A lot of times I'm going to say we want to be able to look at certain things, and we're just not able to because we don't have the resources to be able to go into these agencies more often. We do have to audit every state entity at least once every 3 years, and sometimes we'll be in the middle or at the end of an audit, and some really major issue, will hit the fan, so to speak. I love this right here. Sorry,
Oh, I do it all the time.
They cut that for community television. But when it does hit the fan, we a lot of times will be able to implement it, but a lot of times we won't because it'll be too far into the audit and we'll be coming up at the end and it'll have to wait. And at that that time period, we're able to refer the matter to the Inspector General's office for potential review, letting him know that, you know, we have too much on our plate, we don't have enough resources to be able to start an entirely new audit again, we have to move forward. And then we'll refer stuff to the AG's office as well. So we do partner with these other entities, but it's based on both of those different things. And then, you know, regarding the things that I'm passionate about, you're all passionate as well. I've had stuff brought to me regarding issues that I never heard about before, that were not relevant to me until somebody brought the issue to me and educated me about it, sat me down and said, here's what's happening, and we need you to focus on this topic because this is how it's impacting our community, or this is how it's impacting our taxpayer dollars. And we do have teams that sit with people on the regular and get access to that information, incorporate it into future audits. So if you have items that you'd like us to consider incorporating at some point, please feel free to meet with Phil. I'll put Phil on the spot here. So Phil is our community liaison. He's our director of community outreach, but Phil used to be the president of the Amesbury Chamber of Commerce. And was also on the North Andover Select Board for several years, so understands local government issues, but also understands the business community and has represented y'all fairly well, I will say, very well. A lot of the bills that I filed came out of our local chambers of commerce when I was a state senator, so I recruited him. And yes, obviously, feel free to chat with me. I am on the road a lot, though, so if there are things that you want to talk about, that you want to make sure we can get started on examining, definitely reach out to me, reach out to Phil, and we'll get you connected with the appropriate auditors in our office. We do have over 200 staff members in the Office of State Auditor, 5 different locations. We have Chicopee, Marlborough, Brockton, Boston, Lawrence soon, so we have offices all over the state, and you can definitely get access to meeting with some of our folks in person at one of those offices, or virtually is fine as well, obviously, in today's day and age. You can jump on a Zoom call, hear from you, and hopefully get started on auditing something important to you. Good?
Great.
Thank you so much. So we do have a token of appreciation. I assure you, if you audit us, it's well under $50. It's but it does have the Neshoba Valley logo on it. It's a little portable speaker, so nice. If you too could have one of those. And you can order them through Jane F's business cards. So before we wrap up, a few quick things. Thank you to the team here at the Devon's Commons Center. Always an amazing event. Thank you for hosting us once again. Thank you to James of Air Public Access, recording us in the back of the room. Thank you so much for being here. We're so supportive. We're so happy to have the support of Air Public Access and anything we can do to help you guys. Very special thanks, of course, to Fidelity Bank for sponsoring the Fidelity Bank Breakfast. And mark your calendars for our next breakfast, which will be Tuesday, December 3rd. And we will be joined by 3 leaders in the brewery industry. Thirsty Robot Brewing of Fitchburg, Sterling Street Brewery of Clinton Devons, and Dirigible Brewing of Littleton. And in closing, did you know that today, October 1st, is National Homemade Cookie Day? It is, and so when you exit, we have some chocolate cookies. If you love them, I made them. If you don't, then I didn't. So I want to say thank you again so much to our state auditor for joining us. Very important ballot initiative, and we will actually be addressing this at we have loggers with our legislators next Wednesday, October 9th. We're going to be at Jarvis Ford, and so we invite you to join us. We are going to be having our own ballot, and so we'll let you know how our people are voting. But we've been doing our I want to say thank you to Matt Keswick of Keswick Consulting and Jason Cowby of Cowby Communications. They are our public policy gurus in the Neshoba Valley Chamber, and they guide us and keep us educated. And so So we've been working on educating our members about the ballot initiatives. So thank you so much for joining us. Get out and vote. And one last thing for all of our award winners, we are going to do another formal photo. So if I can have you guys up here with your awards, take your name tags off, and we'll do a quick photo. Thank you.